20 years of marriage, and my wife chose our anniversary dinner to deliver the knockout punch. I want someone younger, Darren. You're hopeless in bed now. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Nadia sat across from me at Romano's, our usual spot, looking like she'd stepped off a magazine cover. Designer dress, perfect makeup, hair that probably cost more than most people's car payments. At 42, she still turned heads. At 48, I apparently didn't turn anything except her stomach. I set down my fork, watching the candlelight flicker across her face. Happy anniversary to you too, sweetheart. Don't be sarcastic. I'm trying to be honest here. She sipped her wine, leaving a perfect lipstick print on the rim. We've grown apart. You smell like motor oil half the time. And when's the last time you surprised me with anything? Last month I surprised you with that boutique expansion loan. $50,000, remember? Her eyes flashed. That's business, not romance. And when's the last time you made me feel alive? Young? Desired? I leaned back, studying her. 20 years ago, Nadia Trent had been a small-town girl with big dreams and bigger debts. I'd been a rising automotive engineer with my own shop and enough money to make those dreams reality. Funny how quickly gratitude turns into entitlement. So, what are you saying exactly? I'm saying I need space. Time to figure out what I want. She played with her wedding ring, sliding it up and down her finger. Maybe we should separate for a while. The waiter approached with dessert, took one look at our faces, and retreated. Smart kid. This about Casey? Her face went white, then flushed red. What? Casey Holt, 27-year-old barista at that hipster coffee place you love so much. The one who's been liking every single one of your Instagram posts at 2 a.m. I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you don't. I pulled out my phone, opened her Instagram. Here's him commenting gorgeous on your gym selfie. Here's him hearting your boutique posts, and here, I scrolled down. Here's him messaging you about inventory night last Tuesday. Funny thing about inventory night, I called the boutique. Lena said you weren't there. Nadia's perfectly applied makeup couldn't hide the guilt written across her face. You're being paranoid. Am I? Because I also found the hotel receipt in your purse, the Marriott downtown, room service for 2, champagne, the works. Either you're having a very expensive affair with yourself, or you're lying to my face. She stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. I don't have to listen to this. No, you don't. I stood too, pulling out my wallet. But you might want to listen to this. I own the LLC that runs your boutique. I co-signed every loan, every lease, every vendor contract. My name's on every bank account that matters in your life. You wouldn't dare. I dropped 2 20s on the table and looked her straight in the eye. Try me. Then I walked out, leaving her standing there in her designer dress, looking like the queen of a kingdom that was about to crumble. The drive home took 15 minutes. 15 minutes to make 3 phone calls that would change everything. First call, Carmen Santos, my lawyer. Carmen, it's Darren Cole. I need you to freeze all business accounts associated with Nadia's boutique. Yes, tonight. I'll explain tomorrow. Second call, First National Bank's emergency line. This is Darren Cole, account holder for Cole Automotive LLC. I need to place a hold on all associated accounts due to suspected fraud. Authorization code is... Third call, Frank Gage, my oldest friend and former cop. Frank, it's happening. Yeah, she finally showed her true colors. Can you meet me at the shop tomorrow? I'm going to need backup for what comes next. By the time I pulled into our driveway, Nadia was already home. I could see her silhouette through the living room window, pacing back and forth, probably calling Casey or her best friend Lena. I sat in my truck for a moment, looking at the house I'd bought and paid for, thinking about the woman inside who just told me I wasn't good enough anymore. You want excitement, Nadia? I said to the empty cab. Let's see how exciting bankruptcy feels. My phone buzzed, text from Nadia. We need to talk. I didn't mean what I said. I typed back. You meant every word. Sleep tight, sweetheart. Tomorrow's going to be interesting. Then I turned off my phone and went to my garage workshop, where I spent the rest of the night planning the systematic destruction of everything Nadia thought she owned. The next morning, I was at my automotive shop by 6 a.m., 3 hours before Nadia's boutique opened. Frank showed up with coffee and donuts, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. You sure about this, Darren? Once you pull this trigger, there's no going back. She pulled the trigger last night. I'm just returning fire. I took a sip of coffee, watching the sunrise through the garage windows. 20 years, Frank. 20 years I built her dream, and she throws it away for some kid who probably can't even spell commitment. What's the plan? I pulled out a manila folder thick with papers. Nadia thinks she owns that boutique. Legally, she's just an employee. I own the LLC, the lease is in my name, every vendor contract has my signature and credit backing it. She's got signing privileges, but no actual ownership. Frank whistled low. That's cold, brother. That's business. Carmen's already filed the paperwork. As of this morning, Nadia Trent is no longer authorized to make purchases, access accounts, or represent the business in any capacity. My phone rang. Carmen Santos, right on schedule. It's done, she said without preamble. All accounts frozen, all credit lines suspended, and I've sent notification to every vendor on your list. The boutique's effectively shut down until further notice. And the divorce papers? Being filed as we speak. You're claiming irreconcilable differences and financial infidelity. With the evidence you provided, she won't get a penny beyond what the law requires. Thanks, Carmen. Send me the bill. Frank was shaking his head. Remind me never to piss you off. Don't cheat on your wife, and you'll be fine. At exactly 9:15, my phone exploded with calls. Nadia, Lena, unknown numbers that were probably Casey or his friends. I let them all go to voicemail. At 9:30, Frank's police scanner crackled to life. Domestic disturbance at Nadia's boutique, Main Street. Multiple complainants, possible business dispute. Showtime, I said. We drove downtown in Frank's pickup, parking across the street from the boutique. The scene was beautiful chaos. A crowd of angry customers stood outside the locked doors, waving their phones and shouting. Nadia was in the middle of it, still wearing yesterday's dress, her perfect hair now a mess, trying to explain why their orders were canceled and their appointments voided. Lena Rowe stood beside her, equally frazzled. Lena was Nadia's business partner and best friend, a sharp-tongued blonde who'd always looked at me like I was something stuck to her shoe. Today she looked like someone had stolen her favorite toy. We just need a few hours to sort this out, Nadia was saying to Mrs. Henderson, whose daughter's wedding dress was supposed to be ready today. There's been a banking error. Banking error my ass, Mrs. Henderson shot back. My credit card was charged 3 weeks ago. Where's my daughter's dress? It's inside, but the locks were changed and... Then change them back. I can't. My husband... Nadia's voice cracked. He's being unreasonable. That's when she saw me across the street. Our eyes met through the crowd, and I gave her a little wave. Her face went from desperate to murderous in half a second. She pushed through the crowd, crossing the street like an avenging angel in designer heels. You bastard! How could you do this to me? Do what? Protect my business interests? Your business? I built that boutique from nothing. With my money, my credit, and my legal backing. You picked out pretty dresses and posted Instagram photos. There's a difference. Lena appeared at Nadia's shoulder, all fake concern and real venom. Darren, this is abuse. You can't just destroy someone's livelihood because you're having marital problems. Watch me. I pulled out my phone, showed them both the screen. See this? It's a recording of last night's conversation. Amazing what smartphones can pick up these days. Turns out adultery is still grounds for divorce in this state, and financial infidelity voids most prenuptial agreements. Nadia's face went white. You recorded us? I recorded my wife confessing to an affair and demanding I accept it. Any jury in America would call that evidence. You son of a... Careful, Nadia. You're making a scene in front of your customers. Wouldn't want them to think you're unstable. She looked around, suddenly aware that half the crowd was watching us instead of complaining about their canceled orders. Someone had their phone out, recording everything. Please, she whispered. We can work this out. I made a mistake. Yes, you did. You thought I was weak. You thought I'd roll over and take it because I loved you. I stepped closer, lowering my voice so only she could hear. But you forgot something, sweetheart. I didn't get where I am by being weak. I got here by being smarter than everyone else. What do you want? I want you to understand what you threw away. I want you to feel what it's like to lose everything you thought was yours. And I want you to know that this is just the beginning. I turned to walk away, then stopped. Oh, and Nadia. You might want to call Casey. I hear his rent's due today, and his check's going to bounce. Seems his new sugar mama's accounts are frozen. The look on her face was worth 20 years of marriage. Frank and I drove back to the shop, leaving Nadia and Lena standing in the street while their customers demanded answers they couldn't give. My phone was buzzing nonstop with calls and texts, but I ignored them all. Phase 1 complete, I told Frank. What's Phase 2? I smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. Time to have a conversation with young Casey about the consequences of sleeping with other men's wives. Casey Holt lived in a converted warehouse apartment downtown, the kind of place 20-something hipsters thought was cool because it had exposed brick and cost twice what it was worth. I'd done my homework, his lease was month to month, his car was financed through a subprime lender, and his coffee shop job barely covered his expenses. Without Nadia's financial support, he was about 3 weeks from living in his car. Frank and I arrived at 6 p.m., just as Casey was coming home from his shift at Grind Coffee. He looked exactly like I'd expected. Skinny jeans, artfully messy hair, the kind of carefully cultivated stubble that took more effort than a clean shave. He was carrying a gym bag and scrolling through his phone, probably looking at the social media explosion from this morning's boutique incident. Casey Holt? He looked up, startled. Yeah, I'm Darren Cole, Nadia's husband. The color drained from his face. Look, man, I don't want any trouble. Too late for that, kid. We need to talk. Frank stepped up beside me, all 6'3" of ex-cop intimidation. Privately. Casey glanced around the empty parking lot, probably calculating his chances of running. In those skinny jeans and hipster boots, he wouldn't make it 50 feet. What do you want? I want to understand what you thought was going to happen here, I said. Did you really think you could sleep with my wife and there wouldn't be consequences? She said you guys were separated. She lied. She's good at that. But then, you probably figured that out this morning when her credit card got declined at whatever overpriced brunch place you took her to. His jaw tightened. This is between you and her. No, Casey. The minute you decided to stick your dick in my wife, you made it between you and me. I stepped closer. See, I've been doing some research on you. Rent's $1,200 a month, car payments $350, and you make maybe $2,000 a month slinging coffee. That math doesn't work without a sugar mama, does it? I don't know what you're talking about. Frank pulled out his phone, showed Casey the screen. Bank records are public information when there's suspected fraud. Looks like Nadia's been transferring money to your account for 3 months. $500 here, $800 there. Adds up to about $6,000 total. That was gifts. That was my money, I said. Money she stole from our joint accounts to fund your little romance, which makes you an accessory to theft. Casey's face was getting red. You can't prove anything. Can't I? I pulled out my own phone, opened the Photos app. See this? It's a picture of you and Nadia at the Marriott last Tuesday, and this one's from the Lakeside restaurant last weekend. And this, I scrolled to the next photo. This is my personal favorite. You two in the boutique after hours, using my business for your personal playground. How did you? Security cameras, kid. Amazing what technology can do these days. I put the phone away. Now here's what's going to happen. You're going to stay away from my wife, you're going to delete her number from your phone, and you're going to find a new coffee shop to work at, preferably in another state. You can't make me do anything. Frank stepped forward. Actually, we can. See, I still have friends on the force, and they take a dim view of young men who prey on married women for financial gain. There's a word for that. What word? Prostitution. Casey's mouth fell open. That's bullshit. Is it? You provided private services in exchange for money and gifts. That's the textbook definition. And in this state, it's a Class C misdemeanor. 6 months in jail, $5,000 fine, and a criminal record that'll follow you forever. I watched Casey process this, saw the exact moment he realized he was in over his head. What do you want? I want you gone, tonight. Pack your shit, break your lease, and disappear. If I see you within 50 miles of this town after tomorrow, I'll have you arrested. I can't just leave. I have a job, a lease. You had a sugar mama. Now you don't. I pulled out an envelope from my jacket, handed it to him. There's $2,000 cash. That should cover your moving expenses and first month's rent wherever you end up. Casey stared at the envelope like it might explode. Why are you giving me money? Because I want you gone, and this is the fastest way to make that happen. Think of it as a severance package. And if I don't take it? Frank cracked his knuckles. Then we do this the hard way. Casey looked between us, clearly weighing his options. Finally, he took the envelope. This is crazy. This is consequences, I corrected. You played with fire, kid. Consider yourself lucky you only got burned. What about Nadia? What about her? Is she going to be okay? I almost laughed. You actually care about her? That's sweet, and stupid, but sweet. I leaned against his car, a beat-up Honda that was probably worth less than Nadia spent on shoes last month. Let me tell you something about my wife, Casey. She doesn't love you, she doesn't even like you. You were just a way for her to feel young and desirable again. A midlife crisis with abs and a man bun. That's not true, isn't it? Tell me, in all your romantic conversations, did she ever talk about leaving me, about building a life with you? Or did she just complain about how boring her husband was while you slept with her in hotel rooms I paid for? His silence was answer enough. Here's the thing about women like Nadia, I continued. They want excitement, but they also want security. They want passion, but they also want stability. You can give her excitement and passion for a few months, but you can't give her the life she's accustomed to. And when push comes to shove, she'll choose the money every time. You're wrong. Am I? Then why isn't she here with you right now, facing this together? Why are you standing alone in a parking lot while she's probably at home trying to figure out how to get back in my good graces? Casey's phone buzzed. He looked at it, and his face fell. She wants to meet tomorrow, says she has something important to tell me. Let me guess. She's going to tell you that you two need to take a break until things cool down, that she needs to focus on saving her marriage for financial reasons, but that doesn't mean what you had wasn't special. The look on his face told me I'd hit the bullseye. 24 hours, Casey. After that, I stopped being reasonable. Frank and I walked back to his truck, leaving Casey standing there with his envelope of money and his shattered illusions. As we drove away, I saw him in the side mirror, still standing in the same spot, staring at his phone like it held the answers to all of life's questions. Think he'll actually leave? Frank asked. He'll leave. He's not stupid, just young. And after Nadia breaks his heart tomorrow, he'll realize this town has nothing left for him. What about Nadia? I smiled, watching the warehouse disappear in the rearview mirror. Nadia's about to learn that actions have consequences, and her consequences are just getting started. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This isn't over. I showed it to Frank. Looks like someone's not taking the hint. Want me to have a talk with him? Not yet. Let's see how tomorrow goes first. If Casey wants to play hardball, I'm happy to oblige. But I had a feeling that after Nadia was done with him, Casey Holt would be more than ready to disappear forever. The next morning brought chaos to my doorstep in the form of Lena Rowe's silver BMW screeching into my shop's parking lot. She climbed out wearing a power suit in fury, her heels clicking like gunshots on the concrete as she marched toward my office. Darren Cole, you bastard. I looked up from the engine I was rebuilding, wiped my hands on a rag, and smiled. Morning, Lena. Coffee's fresh if you want some. Don't you dare act casual with me. Do you have any idea what you've done? Enlighten me. She slammed a stack of papers on my workbench. Vendor cancellations. Every single supplier we use has terminated their contracts. The dress orders for the Henderson wedding, the Morrison anniversary party, the Johnson baby shower, all canceled. We have $30,000 in deposits we can't fulfill. Sounds like a problem. It's your problem. You can't just destroy a business because you're having marital issues. I set down my tools and gave her my full attention. Actually, Lena, I can. See, unlike you, I understand how businesses work. I own the LLC, I hold the contracts, and I provide the credit backing. Without me, Nadia's boutique is just an expensive hobby. She built that business from nothing. She built it with my money, my connections, and my legal guarantees. She picked out inventory and played dress-up on Instagram. There's a difference. Lena's face was getting red, which clashed terribly with her orange lipstick. This is about more than the affair, isn't it? This is about control. You can't stand that Nadia found someone who makes her happy. Happy? I laughed, actually laughed. Is that what you call it? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like she found someone who makes her broke. Casey loves her. Casey loves her money. And speaking of Casey, you might want to give him a call. I hear he's planning to leave town today. The color drained from her face. What did you do? I had a conversation with him about the consequences of his choices. Turns out he's more reasonable than I expected. You threatened him. I educated him. There's a difference. I pulled out my phone, showed her a text message. This is from Casey, sent about an hour ago. Want to read it? She snatched the phone, read the message, and her face went white. He's leaving? Yep. Seems young love isn't as strong as young survival instincts. Nadia doesn't know yet. Nadia's about to find out. In fact, I checked my watch. She should be meeting him at Grind Coffee right about now for what she thinks is a romantic reconciliation. Instead, she's getting a Dear Jane speech and a front row seat to watching her boy toy disappear forever. Lena stared at me like I'd grown a second head. You're enjoying this? I'm enjoying justice. 20 years I supported that woman, built her dreams, gave her everything she wanted, and she threw it away for a kid who can't even afford his own rent. So yeah, I'm enjoying watching her learn what consequences feel like. This isn't over, Darren. Nadia won't just roll over and take this. What's she going to do? Sue me? With what money? Divorce me? I'm already filing. Destroy my reputation? I'm a small business owner with 20 years of community respect. She's a cheating wife who can't even manage her own boutique. Lena was quiet for a long moment, and I could practically see the wheels turning in her head. What if she has something on you? Something that could hurt your business? Like what? Like evidence of you threatening Casey, or proof that you're using your business to manipulate personal relationships. I smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. Lena, are you trying to blackmail me? I'm trying to find a solution that works for everyone. The solution is simple. Nadia apologizes, agrees to a quiet divorce with minimal alimony, and promises to stay away from married men in the future. In exchange, I don't pursue criminal charges for theft and don't sue her for damages to my business reputation. And if she refuses, then she finds out how much worse things can get. Lena gathered up her papers, her hands shaking slightly. You're not the man I thought you were. No, I'm exactly the man I've always been. You just never paid attention before because I was useful. I fixed Nadia's problems, paid her bills, and stayed in the background while you two played at being businesswomen. But now I'm the problem, so suddenly you notice me. Nadia was right about you. You are controlling. I'm protective of what's mine. There's a difference. I walked her to the door. Give Nadia a message for me. Tell her that this is just the beginning. She wanted excitement in her life. She's about to get more than she bargained for. Lena left without another word, her BMW's tires squealing as she peeled out of the parking lot. I watched her go, then checked my phone. 3 missed calls from Nadia, 2 voicemails, and a string of increasingly desperate text messages. The first voicemail was angry. Darren, this is insane. Call me back right now so we can fix this. The second was desperate. Please, we need to talk. Casey's gone and I don't understand what's happening. I'm scared. The text messages told the whole story. Casey broke up with me. He said you threatened him. He's leaving town. I don't have anywhere to go. The boutique is ruined. Please call me. I'm sorry. I'll do anything. I deleted them all without responding. Frank showed up around noon with lunch and updates. Saw Lena Rowe speeding through town like her ass was on fire. I'm guessing she paid you a visit? She tried to negotiate. Didn't go well for her. And Casey? Gone. Left town this morning, according to my sources at the coffee shop. Didn't even give notice. Frank unwrapped his sandwich, shaking his head. 27 years old and already running from his problems. Kids these days have no spine. Can't say I blame him. When you're in over your head, sometimes the smart play is to cut your losses and run. What about Nadia? What about her? She's going to fight back eventually. Cornered animals always do. I considered this while eating my burger. Frank was right. Nadia wouldn't just accept defeat. She'd try to find some way to hurt me back, to regain control of the situation. The question was what ammunition she had left. She'll try, I agreed. But what can she do? I own everything that matters, I have evidence of her infidelity, and her reputation in this town is shot. She's got no money, no business, and no allies except Lena. Never underestimate a desperate woman. I'm not underestimating anything. I'm just prepared for whatever comes next. My phone rang. Unknown number. Darren Cole. Mr. Cole, this is Detective Morrison with the County Sheriff's Department. We've received a complaint about harassment and possible criminal threats. Would you be available to come in for a conversation this afternoon? I met Frank's eyes. He was already reaching for his own phone. Of course, Detective. What time works for you? How about 3 o'clock? I'll be there. I hung up and looked at Frank. Nadia's playing dirty. I'll call my lawyer buddy, have him meet us at the station. Good idea. I finished my burger, wiped my hands, and stood up. Time to find out just how desperate my wife really is. But I wasn't worried. I'd been planning for this possibility since the night she told me I was hopeless in bed, and I had a feeling that Nadia was about to learn that when you try to destroy someone, you better make sure you finish the job, because if you don't, they might just destroy you instead. The sheriff's station smelled like stale coffee and broken dreams. Detective Morrison was a tired-looking man in his 50s who'd probably seen every kind of domestic drama this town had to offer. He led me to an interview room that was exactly as depressing as you'd expect. Mr. Cole, thank you for coming in voluntarily. I want to be clear, you're not under arrest and you're free to leave at any time. I appreciate that, Detective. What can I help you with? We received a complaint from a Mr. Casey Holt alleging that you threatened him yesterday evening. He claims you forced him to leave town under threat of false criminal charges. I pulled out my phone, opened the voice recorder app. Do you mind if I record this conversation? For my own protection. That's your right. Morrison leaned back in his chair. So, did you have a conversation with Mr. Holt yesterday? I did. I informed him that his relationship with my wife constituted adultery, and that the money she'd been giving him came from accounts I controlled. I suggested it would be in his best interest to end the relationship and find employment elsewhere. Did you threaten him with arrest? I informed him that accepting money in exchange for private services could potentially be construed as prostitution, which is illegal in this state. I also mentioned that my friend Frank Gage has connections in law enforcement who take a dim view of such activities. Morrison made notes. And you gave him money to leave town? I offered him $2,000 to cover moving expenses. He was free to accept or decline. That sounds like extortion, Mr. Cole. Does it? Because from where I sit, it sounds like I was trying to resolve a difficult situation without involving law enforcement. Mr. Holt was free to refuse my offer and stay in town. The fact that he chose to leave suggests he understood the precarious nature of his position. What precarious position? I pulled out a manila folder, spread its contents on the table. Bank records showing transfers from my wife's account to Mr. Holt's account totaling $6,000 over 3 months. Hotel receipts charged to credit cards I pay for. Security camera footage from my wife's boutique showing them engaged in intimate behavior on business premises after hours. Morrison studied the documents. This is evidence of an affair, not criminal activity. Isn't it? No, Mr. Holt knew my wife was married. He accepted money and gifts from her in exchange for private services. He used my business property for personal activities without permission. At minimum, that's theft of services and trespassing. Those are misdemeanors at best. True. But they're also grounds for a civil lawsuit: alienation of affection, intentional infliction of emotional distress, conversion of marital assets. In this state, those can add up to significant damages. Morrison was quiet for a moment. You're saying you gave him money to avoid a lawsuit? I'm saying I offered him a reasonable settlement to resolve our differences without involving the courts, much cheaper than legal fees for everyone involved. And if he hadn't accepted? Then I would have pursued my legal remedies through the appropriate channels. Morrison closed his notebook. Mr. Cole, I have to ask, where is Mr. Holt now? I believe he left town this morning. Beyond that, I have no knowledge of his current whereabouts. He's not answering his phone. Maybe he's driving, or maybe he's decided to start fresh somewhere new. People do that sometimes when they want to leave their mistakes behind. Morrison studied me for a long moment. You seem pretty calm for a man whose wife just cheated on him. Detective, I've been married for 20 years. I own a successful business. I've learned that emotional reactions rarely solve problems. Logical responses do. And what's your logical response here? Divorce. Division of assets according to state law. Moving on with my life. What about your wife? How's she handling all this? I shrugged. You'd have to ask her. We're not exactly communicating effectively at the moment. Morrison stood up. Mr. Cole, I'm going to be straight with you. This whole situation feels orchestrated, like you planned every move to maximize damage while staying just inside the law. Is that illegal? No, but it's cold as hell. Detective, my wife told me on our 20th anniversary that I was hopeless in bed and she wanted someone younger. She'd been stealing money from our joint accounts to fund an affair with a man half her age. She used my business property for her personal activities and lied to my face about it for months. Exactly how warm should my response be? Morrison was quiet for a moment. Fair point, but threatening people, even legally, can escalate situations in dangerous ways. I didn't threaten anyone. I informed Mr. Holt of the potential consequences of his actions and offered him a way to avoid those consequences. He made his choice freely. And if he comes back? Then he'll face whatever consequences his actions merit. But I suspect he's smart enough to stay away. Morrison walked me to the lobby, where Frank was waiting with a cup of coffee and a concerned expression. Everything okay? Just a misunderstanding, I said. Detective Morrison was very professional. Mr. Cole, Morrison called as we reached the door. A word of advice? Whatever you're planning next, make sure you stay on the right side of the law. Revenge has a way of consuming people. I'm not seeking revenge, Detective. I'm seeking justice. There's a difference. The drive back to the shop was quiet. Frank kept glancing at me like he was waiting for me to explode, but I felt strangely calm. Everything was proceeding exactly as I'd planned. So what now? Frank asked as we pulled into the parking lot. Now we wait. Nadia's running out of options, and desperate people make mistakes. What kind of mistakes? The kind that give me everything I need to finish this. My phone buzzed. Text message from an unknown number. You think you've won, but this isn't over. I have friends you don't know about. I showed it to Frank. Looks like someone's feeling cornered. That from Nadia? Probably, or maybe Lena. Doesn't matter. I deleted the message. Let them make their threats. I'm ready for whatever comes next. But as we walked into the shop, I couldn't shake the feeling that the real fight was just beginning. Nadia had lost her lover, her business, and her financial security. But she still had one thing left, her pride. And in my experience, that was the most dangerous thing of all, because a person with nothing left to lose will do anything to drag you down with them. The question was I ready for anything? I was about to find out. 3 days later, Nadia made her final play. I was at the shop, working late on a restoration project, when my security system alerted me to movement at the boutique. The building was supposed to be empty. I'd had the locks changed and posted notices that the business was temporarily closed pending legal resolution. But there on my phone's security app was live footage of Nadia and Lena inside the boutique, loading dresses and accessories into garbage bags. Stealing inventory from a business you don't own, I said to the empty garage. That's definitely illegal. I called Frank first, then Detective Morrison, then grabbed my keys. 20 minutes later, we were all standing outside the boutique, watching Nadia and Lena load stolen merchandise into Lena's BMW. Ladies, Detective Morrison called out, step away from the vehicle. Nadia spun around, her face a mask of fury and desperation. She was wearing jeans and a t-shirt, the first time I'd seen her dressed down in years. Her hair was unwashed, her makeup smeared, and she looked like she hadn't slept since Casey left town. This is my business, she screamed. These are my dresses. Actually, Morrison said calmly, according to the legal documents I reviewed this afternoon, this business belongs to Mr. Cole, which means what you're doing right now is theft. He's destroying my life. No, Nadia, I said, stepping forward. You destroyed your own life. I'm just cleaning up the mess. She lunged at me then, all fingernails and fury, screaming obscenities that would have made a sailor blush. Frank caught her before she could reach me, holding her back while she struggled and raged. 20 years, she shrieked. 20 years I gave you, and this is how you repay me? 20 years you took from me, I corrected. 20 years of building your dreams while you planned to throw me away the moment someone younger came along. I loved you. No, you loved my money. You loved the security I provided, the lifestyle I made possible. But you never loved me. Lena tried to run then, probably hoping to escape with at least some of the stolen merchandise. But Morrison's backup had arrived, and Officer Jenkins was already blocking her path to the street. This is harassment, Lena shouted. He's using his connections to persecute us. Ma'am, Morrison said tiredly, you're literally caught red-handed stealing merchandise from a business you don't own. This isn't persecution, it's consequences. As they loaded Nadia and Lena into separate patrol cars, Nadia looked at me through the window with pure hatred. This isn't over, Darren. I'll find a way to destroy you. You already tried, I replied, and you failed. The next morning, I was at Carmen's law office signing the final divorce papers. Nadia was in jail pending bail on theft charges, and Lena was facing similar charges plus conspiracy. The boutique inventory had been recovered, and I'd already contacted a liquidation company to sell everything off. How do you feel? Carmen asked as I signed the last document. Free, I said. And I meant it. The theft charges will probably stick. With the security footage and the prior evidence of financial impropriety, the prosecutor feels confident about conviction. What's the likely sentence? First offense, probably probation and restitution, but it'll be on their records forever. I nodded. And the divorce settlement? Minimal alimony due to the adultery and theft. She gets her personal belongings, and that's about it. The house, the business assets, the retirement accounts, all yours. What about her claim that I was abusive and controlling? Carmen smiled. Hard to prove abuse when you're the one caught stealing. The judge wasn't impressed with her victim act. I left the law office feeling like I'd shed a weight I'd been carrying for years. 20 years of marriage. Over. 20 years of supporting someone who saw me as nothing more than a bank account with a pulse. Finished. My phone rang as I reached my truck. Unknown number. Darren Cole. Mr. Cole, this is Casey Holt. I almost hung up. Then curiosity got the better of me. I thought you left town. I did. I'm in Denver now. I heard about what happened. About Nadia getting arrested. And? I wanted to say I'm sorry. About everything. You were right about her. About all of it. What do you want, Casey? Nothing. I wanted you to know that I understand now. What she did to you, what she did to me, she used both of us. Yes, she did. The difference is you were young and stupid. I was just stupid. Are you going to be okay? I looked around at the town where I'd built my life, my business, my reputation, where I'd just reclaimed my freedom and my self-respect. I'm going to be fine, Casey. Better than fine. Good. And Mr. Cole, thank you. For what? For giving me the money to leave, for helping me see what she really was before I wasted more of my life on her. You're welcome. And Casey, stay away from married women. Find someone your own age who isn't looking for a sugar daddy. I will, I promise. I hung up and drove home, to my house, to my life, to my future. That evening, I sat in my garage with a beer and the local newspaper. The arrest had made the front page, Local Boutique Owner Arrested for Theft. The article was factual but devastating, detailing the affair, the business fraud, and the final desperate attempt to steal inventory. Frank stopped by around 8, bringing pizza and congratulations. So it's really over? He asked. It's really over. How does it feel to win? I thought about that while finishing my beer. It doesn't feel like winning, Frank. It feels like justice. There's a difference. What's next? I'm thinking about expanding the shop, maybe hiring another mechanic. Business has been good, and I've got some ideas for growth. What about dating? Getting back out there? I laughed. Frank, I just spent 20 years married to a woman who saw me as a walking ATM. I think I'll enjoy being single for a while. Fair enough, but don't let what Nadia did make you bitter toward all women. I won't, but I will be smarter about who I trust with my heart and my bank account. We sat in comfortable silence for a while, listening to the radio and watching the sun set through the garage windows. Finally, Frank stood up to leave. You know what the best part of all this is, he said. What's that? She told you that you were hopeless in bed. Turns out she was the one who was hopeless. Hopeless at being a decent human being. After Frank left, I stayed in the garage for another hour, thinking about the past month and the past 20 years. Nadia had wanted someone younger, someone more exciting. She'd thrown away 2 decades of marriage for a few months of passion with a kid who couldn't even afford his own rent. And now she was facing criminal charges while I was free to build whatever life I wanted. My phone buzzed one last time. Text from Nadia. I hope you're happy. You've destroyed everything. I typed back, I didn't destroy anything. I just stopped letting you destroy me. Then I blocked her number, finished my beer, and went inside to start planning the rest of my life. A life where I would never again be hopeless in bed, or anywhere else.